Today, we want to bring in Brian White, the Assistant Operations Manager at MedStar this afternoon. Brian, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Jason.
So let's talk about this, because, again, we saw someone in Dallas who died. This was an elderly woman who had pre-existing conditions, but heat is considered the cause of that death. And it just underscores, as we said, how dangerous this can be. What do you tell people that they need to know right now if they're planning to be out and about on a weekend like this? Again, a lot of us think, it's heat. I can deal with heat. I do it all the time.
I would say the number one thing is if you plan on being out this weekend, start hydrating now. Now is the time to actually start hydrating and getting that fluid buildup in your body so that you can handle the heat more appropriately. That's
an interesting point. I don't think most people would think to do that. Usually they wait until they're really, really thirsty.
Yeah, exactly. It really helps. And even when you're not thinking that you're thirsty, when you're actually out in the heat, you still need to be drinking the water because your body is losing moisture. So,
Brian, let me ask you this, because last summer, boy, we really got hit, especially in August, with these horrendous temperatures for most of the month there. You had a front row seat as to what that looks like as far as calls go and that sort of thing. It can get really hectic.
Yes, it surely can. I mean, just last year, so far this year alone, we've run 379 patients to the hospital for heat-related emergencies. That's just this year. Wow. I know last year it was a little bit.
News for TrajanWealth.com. There's a heat advisory. It's been in effect for us with temps in the 90s and 100s. And heat index gets as high as 109 in some spots. On today's Ask the Expert, John Hamilton joins us from MedStar. This heat affects everyone. For some, it's their first Texas summer. How has MedStar responded to heat-related calls so far?
Well, sure. The deeper we get into the summer months, the hotter it's going to get. MedStar responds to a lot of homeless individuals that have no shelter to get out of this heat. They're very susceptible to it. Additionally, the elderly, will do several calls on them as well, who may not financially be able to keep the electricity on and the AC going during these hot summer months. Occasionally, unfortunately, we will respond to a child in a vehicle as well, whether a parent just thinks, just a few moments, I'm going to leave them in there and I'll be right back. Well, the temperatures in those vehicles skyrocket very quickly.
Looking through some of the numbers, you've already had to deal with a lot of kids in hot cars at this point. What is it that parents just don't get the message on about leaving a kid or a pet in a hot car?
Well, unfortunately, yes, both the pets and the children. Sometimes, unfortunately, parents are just very busy, and, it just slips their mind that, oh my God, I had a child in the car, and, they got to doing something else. Hopefully we'll never think that's an intentional act, but they just get busy and they forget, or they just think, I'm going to be inside for just one moment, and the next thing you know, it's been 10, 15 minutes, and that child is very susceptible to the heat.
We have a front, and that could change some things. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a bit.
All right, Allie, thank you. So the August heat wave really has emergency responders busy with heat-related calls.
Fox 4's Deion Anglin talked with a MedStar crew in Fort Worth about the health hazards of this heat.
First responders are operating with heat protocols as a top priority. 190. That's the number of heat-related calls MedStar has responded to in the last 15 days.
We see a lot of the outdoor workers, some of the homeless population, and elderly are not so able to regulate body temperature.
The ambulance service is operating at high priority heat protocol.
I can show you all the way up north or as far south
as we go. At this moment, their mapping device indicates there are 26 MedStar crews standing by in strategic locations, awaiting calls for.
Still see folks out on Fort Worth's Trinity Trail.
I don't mind it at all. I like it. It's a good workout.
It has EMS crews busy stocking up on ice packs and water bottles in cool-down trucks.
But the increase has definitely shown its ugly side.
Keith Stone says last year, MedStar saw a 270% increase in heat-related illness calls and more hospitalizations, too. This year, they're posed to beat that.
The heat exhaustion. And so those folks feeling fatigued, nauseous, maybe some vomiting, a little dizziness.
When you call 911, you expect the ambulance to rush you to the hospital. However, doing that could actually jeopardize a life when it comes to extreme heat illness. National recommendations call for cooling patients first before transporting them. But environmental correspondent David Schechter found most states do not require that life-saving protocol.
Lots of ice. When you stack up Matt Whelans against most paramedics, he has one more life-saving tool for patients overcome by the blazing Texas heat.
You're the Iceman. Can I be Maverick, or how are we going to do that?
You can be Maverick.
Okay, cool.
Matt carries that ice with him every day in case there's a call for heat stroke.
I'm going to be part of the crew here for a little bit and learn how they do this, how they cool a patient down on the spot.
I count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Up and move over.
I help Matt put the patient in a bag.
We can start dumping this on him.
Pour in water.
Literally just dump the bucket of ice over
Dump
him?
the bucket of ice on him.
Pour in Matt's ice.
Really, it's just like, it's very simple.
Yes. Now we're treating them in the field and making that difference.
And that's could save their life.
That is going to save their life.
The protocol is known as Cool First, Transport Second. The National Association of EMS Officials recommends if a patient's core temperature is above 104, an ice bath immersion provides the most rapid cooling mechanism. Only after the temperature falls to 102.2 should the patient be transported.
In Fort Worth, MedStar anticipated an increase in call volume based on numbers from previous years. Spokesperson Desiree Partain says they've responded to some 240 heat-related calls this month so far.
Last August, we ran about 340 calls. The previous August 2022, we ran about 150 heat-related calls. So I hate to say we're kind of on track this August. Right now, especially during this week, we're averaging about 15 to 20 heat-related calls a day.
She says they upstaff during summer months and work 12-hour shifts with the bulk of crews on the road between 2 and 4 p.m.